Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into a really fascinating dynamic in the corporate world. It's basically survival of the fittest. We're going to break down exactly why some massive companies thrive and completely dominate the future, while others, well, they just go extinct. And it all comes down to mastering the art of business transformation management. It's the ultimate dividing line between legacy builders and forgotten giants, and I am super excited to walk you through it today.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to define transformation, contrast it with simple improvement, figure out why organizations take this massive leap, look at the four main types of change, uncover why so many efforts fail, and then wrap it all up with the ultimate case study, the Netflix lesson. Let's get right into it.
So part 1, defining business transformation.
Before we get too deep, we absolutely have to define what we mean when we throw around the word transformation. It's the wholesale rethinking of a business. The really crucial point here: it is structural, not cosmetic. It fundamentally changes the entire system, not just the symptoms. Think about it. It's not about putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling house, right? It's about tearing it all the way down to the studs and rebuilding an entirely new architecture designed for a completely different future.
Moving on to part 2, improvement versus transformation.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We have to separate true transformation, what we call second-order change, from your everyday improvements, which are just first-order changes. Think of it like this. Improvement is making what already exists just work a little bit better. It's like Amazon cutting their warehouse pick and pack times from 3 hours down to 45 minutes. That is awesome, sure, but it's still the exact same business model. Transformation, on the other hand, is Amazon completely reimagining itself by launching web services and becoming a massive global cloud infrastructure provider. One simply optimizes the present, while the other literally invents the future.
And hey, a quick clarification here. Change management is not a synonym for business transformation management. It's really just one piece of the puzzle. Change management focuses heavily on the human side, managing resistance, handling training, and communicating for a specific, bounded project so it rolls out smoothly. Business transformation management, that's the whole shebang. It's the overarching, holistic approach spanning strategy, process, tech, and governance to literally reinvent the entire organization from the ground up.
Okay, so this brings us to a really counterintuitive truth about where transformation actually kicks off. Just look at Lego back in the early 2000s. They were facing some serious financial pressure from years of overexpansion. You'd probably think, oh, they need some radical new toy to save them. But no, sometimes the very first act of transformation is simply getting operationally healthy, not just getting bigger. Lego had to aggressively refocus on its core profitable products and really dial in their disciplined operations before they could even lay the groundwork for that massive renewed growth we see today. Starbucks actually pulled the exact same move in 2008. They proved that an organization often has to restore its core before true transformation can even happen. Facing a brutal 13% drop in net earnings and declining store sales, they didn't just panic and invent a crazy new drink. Instead, they closed underperforming stores, retrained their baristas, and totally rebuilt their quality standards. You've got to fix the foundation before you can build a skyscraper, right?
Which takes us to part 3, why organizations transform.
Why take on all this huge risk? Well, it really boils down to diagnosing your problem correctly. Companies have to look in the mirror and ask, do we just have an efficiency gap? Meaning our business model is fine, but our costs are too high or we're moving too slow. Or are we staring down a terrifying relevance gap? A relevance gap means your current way of doing business is literally becoming obsolete because of changing customers or disruptive tech. And trust me, you absolutely cannot optimize your way out of irrelevance. So I want you to lock in on this simple, profound decision rule. You transform when the cost of staying exactly as you are becomes far more dangerous than the pain of changing. It's that critical tipping point where the status quo stops being your safe zone and suddenly becomes your absolute biggest strategic risk. Okay, let's jump into part 4, the 4 types of transformation. There are 4 interconnected pillars here: strategic, operational, digital, and cultural. These are the specific levers that leaders pull to actually redesign their future. Now, in the real world, a massive corporate reinvention usually blends a few of these together. But understanding each individual lever is key to seeing how the whole machine works.
Let's look at operational transformation first. Toyota is the absolute gold standard here. They didn't just change the cars they sold, they fundamentally redesigned how the work was done to aggressively eliminate waste. By rolling out their lean production system, using just-in-time production and automation that still kept a human touch, they transformed their efficiency from the inside out.
Then you have digital transformation, and Domino's is a textbook example. They didn't just slap a website together. No, they shifted from simple, analog phone orders to becoming a digital-first data powerhouse. By introducing incredibly smart features like the Pizza Builder and that famous pizza tracker, they used technology to create entirely new customer channels. It completely changed the way we interact with their brand.
And for cultural transformation, we have to talk about Microsoft. Under CEO Satya Nadella, they completely shifted the company's shared mindset. They went from a highly competitive, know-it-all culture to a much more collaborative, growth-focused, learn-it-all culture. Changing human behavior and norms at that massive scale, incredibly difficult. But it drastically elevated their innovation, and honestly, their stock price absolutely skyrocketed as a result.
That brings us to part 5, why transformation efforts fail. Look, despite those amazing success stories, the reality out there is pretty harsh. A staggering 60% of transformations fail to hit their targets. 60%! That is a massive amount of wasted capital and energy. And what does this tell us? It proves that the problem is almost never the brilliant strategy cooked up in a boardroom. The failure is almost always rooted in the execution by the actual people on the ground.
According to some landmark research by John Cotter, there are 8 specific, human-centric breakdowns that derail these massive efforts. It usually starts with just lacking a true sense of urgency. Then you see weak leadership coalitions, under-communicating the vision, not removing structural obstacles, and of course that classic mistake of declaring victory way too soon, long before those new behaviors are truly anchored in the company's culture. Bottom line, the human element is what makes or breaks the transformation, every single time.
And finally, part 6, the Netflix lesson. Let's tie all this together with the ultimate survival story of our era. Netflix is literally the textbook example of mastering business transformation. They didn't just try to incrementally improve their DVD logistics so they could beat Blockbuster at their own game. Instead, they looked ahead, recognized a massive relevance gap rushing toward them, and boldly abandoned their wildly successful physical DVD model to pivot entirely into digital streaming. And they did it long before disruption forced their hand. They transformed early, recognizing that staying the same was the biggest risk to their survival. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. Where exactly would Netflix be today if they had chosen the safe, comfortable route of improvement over the courageous, terrifying path of true transformation? Well, they'd likely be exactly where Blockbuster is, nowhere. Remember, in a rapidly changing world, the most dangerous thing any organization can do is stand perfectly still. Keep looking for those relevance gaps in your own world, and I'll catch you next time.